This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, nerds. I'm Mark Weber, and you're listening to A Graphic Conversation, the bi-weekly podcast where we read, discuss, and review the best, and hopefully not the worst, in graphic novels. I'm joined, as I always am, by my good friend and fellow man-child, Ricky Widmer.
Hey, guys.
And this time we read XMen, the Complete Age of Apocalypse Epic, Book 1. Funny when it's complete, but also only book 1.
Mm-hmm.
So this was
interesting,
long as hell.
And
it was pretty long. It was interesting. I was, before we recorded this podcast, I was talking to Ricky about some of the history around the Age of Apocalypse storyline, and there's so much cool stuff to the storyline, and I really like what they did. But you got to read the whole epic to really get all of that.
You're talking about the ones like, we only read book 1 of it. You're talking about like book 2, book 3, book 4.
There are 4 books to the Complete Age of Apocalypse epic, and I don't even know if those include some of the, they're continuing stuff on now. But it's definitely an interesting thing. If you don't know the podcast, maybe this is your first time listening to it, or maybe you just completely forgot what happened 2 weeks ago. The way this podcast works, we have a little spoiler-free area now where we're going to talk a little bit. Then we're going to get on into the spoiler zone. So I don't really have a good name for it, but spoiler zone.
Welcome to the spoiler zone.
That's the copyrighted thing that we're stealing?
It's a parody. It's a parody. We're protected under the parody law.
So you'll get to that. If you haven't read it, we'll warn you. You can pause, you can read it, and then you can come back. We'll talk a little spoilers. We'll do that stuff. We'll tell you if you should read it. We'll give those little reviews and all of that good stuff. But Ricky, what was your first impression coming into Age of Apocalypse?
My first thing, and this is the tricky part about this one, because I'm trying to think back, and this is our first one that we're reading for an actual movie. Like later in the seasons, we're going to have Ghostbusters, which we're going to do later on, and we're going to have Warcraft, which is actually the next episode. But this is the first one of the year that we've had like, oh, we're releasing this because you guys have probably already seen Age of Apocalypse, hopefully, by the time this has gotten to your little ear holes. But my kind of first impression was how much, like, whenever it's a movie, when it's like, okay, they just made a movie out of it, I'm a little bit tainted by that, where I'm like, okay, what did they take from this? I want to see what have I been seeing in the previews, in the movie, after I see it, that what are they taking from this source material? And I'll be honest, from the previews of just Age of Apocalypse, looks completely different. Looks completely different than what I just read.
I don't think they really took anything from it besides the fact that Apocalypse exists. In it. Yeah. I mean, it's very different. Well, so if anybody wants to know a little bit about Age of Apocalypse, let me give you just a very, very quick explanation. It's hard to give a good explanation because this is such a huge thing. But essentially, so an event happens where a psychotic mutant named Legion, who happens to be the son of Professor Charles Xavier, goes back in time to kill Magneto, hoping to, stop Magneto from ever doing anything bad. But what happens is actually Charles Xavier saves his good friend Magneto, because at that time they're still friends, and of course, this erases Legion. He no longer exists. This, of course, shows Apocalypse that this is the time to attack, unlike in the real timeline where he would have attacked 10 years later. This, of course, changes everything, and the timeline's completely different. You know how we feel about alternate realities. We're big fans of them here on a graphic conversation, and this is everything that takes place afterwards. Something I really, really like about this, and you're not going to really get this from just reading book 1. You have to kind of go into this a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But Age of Apocalypse, the whole storyline, essentially for a year, took over all the X-Men stories. And you can go through and you can see, the different names. For example, Excalibur, literally X-Caliber, is taking over for the Excalibur storyline that they had before. And all of these ones do that. Like X-Force is taken over by Gambit and the Externals. All of that. And I like the way they have that where it's just a whole year we're doing Age of Apocalypse. Because that's something I really would love more comics to be able to do. Like, all right, for this year we are telling this story. And whatever happens in this story happens. And that's the kind of thing where later on Marvel has said, hey guys, by the way, that whole Age of Apocalypse thing happened in an alternate universe. So it doesn't matter. Nothing happened there really matters. We can come back to it if we want, but we don't have to. Mm-hmm. It would be cool if more stories did that. You'd have a lot more freedom. You could kill somebody and leave them dead instead of having them come back for the 1 millionth time, Superman style.
Well, I was going to say Death of Superman style.
Yeah, Superman's dead. Oh, not so much. He's back. Spoilers. And we're in spoiler-free territory right now.
Well, and I mean, with this one, too, I didn't look into, like, that was the difference between me and you. Mm-hmm. I didn't do any of that research coming in. I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to start reading. And from that mindset, it took me a little bit to kind of get my bearings because I'm going to save it for spoiler mode. But if you're coming in there with the general X-Men knowledge, you're like...
That doesn't do much for you.
Okay, this is different. This is different. This is different. And then you kind of get naturaled in. You're like, okay, now I'm in the world. Now I'm accepting of it. Okay, let's move forward.
And I think that's the kind of thing where when you get into book 2, when you get into book 3, you're going to appreciate that more. But when you're just in book 1, I think it's hard to completely appreciate everything that's being developed here.
Another thing I kind of want to throw out, and this was my thought halfway through this book, was we read Days of Futures Past. And if you've ever read Days of Futures Past, you know, but if you haven't, I'll just tell you, it's not a consistent story. It's like a bunch of different stories thrown in. Like, for example, one of the issues talks about Nightcrawler and his kind of dissension into Dante's
was the weirdest
Inferno.
Thing ever. Yeah.
Like, I was like, where the fuck does this have to do with the storyline that I'm expecting to read because I'm reading this for Days of Futures Past?
And Days of Future Past is... Like, if I remember exactly, it was like 2 issues, and then some other stuff just got thrown in there.
Yeah, it was like 2 that were actually the story, and then, oh, here's 2 random ones. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, and then when there was, who was it? Was it Kitty Pryde's Christmas?
Pride. Yep.
Kitty Pryde's Christmas happened in there, and it was like, what is happening right now? Why is this here?
The thing I like about this more than that was it had that kind of different, kind of like what you talked about a little bit, but it had that different, like, these are different stories, but they all kind of wrap together. By the time I got to the 3rd story, it had referenced something that happened in that first one to where I'm like, okay, yes, you're linking them together at least.
Yeah.
Because
this book is a giant crossover.
Yeah, it is. And it's the kind of parallels kind of keep with the same storyline. And another thing that's cool about it, though, is because you get those different kind of storylines, you get the different art, too. Where some of them look like it's in an older style, where as you get to the end, where the ending is weird because they have a couple of Blink. It's just about Blink, the X-Men Blink. And it's just her story. And that is a complete story in itself. That's a complete, like, here's 4 issues completing that story. And that's done in like a modern art style, whereas the other ones kind of look like, okay, this is a different art style than what I am used to in a normal comic.
Yeah, yeah. So it's going to be interesting, that's for sure. Things are different in this. So the next question, of course, is who is this for? Who should read this comic?
X-Men fans. That's what it is. Like, if you just love the X-Men, you'll love this. Because for me, it was, I got to see different characters like, oh, cool, there's Cyclops. Oh, cool, there's Sabretooth. oh, cool, there's Rogue, there's Gambit, there's Nightcrawler, there's Pietro, which is Quicksilver, there's Iceman, there's Colossus, there's Weapon... Not Wolverine. Here's the thing.
Not Wolverine. Weapon X.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to save it for spoiler mode because
we'll get to it.
Remind me to talk about Wolverine as we get into spoiler mode.
That'll be the first thing we talk about.
But the one thing I want to keep in non-spoiler mode, you know who's a fucking badass in all of this?
Who's that?
Fucking Cyclops. Yeah. The way they depicted Cyclops in the art, it was like, fucking A, that's the Cyclops I want. He had like long flowing like brown hair. His visor wasn't like a horizontal visor. It was like his hair covered the left side of his face, and he had this cool like one eye kind of a. It kind of looked
almost
like
monocle-esque,
kind of like the readers in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah,
with kind of like a connecting thing that looked like a mouthpiece. And I was like, holy shit, that is a cool fucking version of Scott Summers.
Yeah.
And the one thing, we'll get into spoiler mode, but one of the issues kind of talks about and dives into the relationship between Alex and Scott Summers. That was very interesting, kind of to get inside their heads as brothers. Alex Summer is obviously the X-Men who has the same power as Cyclops, except in the movies it's coming out of his chest.
Yes. So I would add one thing that I definitely think this is purely kind of for X-Men fans. I also want to say it's for X-Men fans that got a lot of time. You don't invest.
It's a big book.
Yeah, don't, and this might defeat the purpose of our podcast a little bit. Don't start reading just book one. If you're going to read the complete Age of Apocalypse epic, you got to read the whole damn thing.
Well,
you're not getting everything out of it.
And I don't think it does defeat the purpose of our podcast, because I was just going to say, Mark.
Well, because I would want people to read it and then join the conversation.
Because we read this, I feel like in future seasons we've got to finish this out. This is something where I don't know if it's going to be something where we read one of these every season, but I feel like it's kind of like our Morning Glories thing, which we'll have to get back to next season for sure. But I mean, we've got to finish this one through, because I'm sitting here going, well, either we're going to finish it here or I'm going to finish it, because I'm kind of being left I'm hanging.
So you need time to fully appreciate everything that's happening in Age of Apocalypse. Especially because, I mean, just to give you a little example of all the different like storyline titles we have, there's X-Men Alpha, there's Excalibur, Gambit and the Externals, Generation Next, Astonishing X-Men, Amazing X-Men, Weapon X, Factor X, and X-Man. That's kind of everything that's being put together for the complete epic. And then if you really want to go into, there's more stuff new.
Or is this just book one?
That's the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the whole story. Everything in that. And there's extra stuff too. They have a thing called the ongoing series. I think that's called Extermination. There's Secret Wars. It's a whole bunch of stuff. It really, it's going to demand a lot of your time. You're really going to need to get into this. So with that being said, I think it's time to get into spoiler mode. So Ricky can go on his Weapon X rant.
I went to the spoiler zone.
I don't know if I'm sold on that one. Let me know down below, guys.
I think we should just come up with
I think you like it because you put it in there.
To the spoiler zone. Plus, I fucking love Top Gun.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
You're writing checks your ass can't cash, Maverick.
So with that being said,
didn't know we were going to talk Top Gun on this podcast, did you? Hashtag Top Gun. Is that going to be the hashtag for this podcast?
I hope not, because it has nothing to do with this episode. If you want to read X-Men Age of Apocalypse, the complete epic, volume 1, book 1, whatever, you should do that. And I would say in that case, don't press pause right now, but do it in just a little bit before I get to spoiler mode. So do that. If you don't care about having this spoiled for you, if you're not going to read it, maybe you've already read it, great. Join us. Let's have this conversation down below. I'm at the Mark Weber for anything I say. If you want to yell at me on Twitter, Ricky, you can yell at him at Ricky Widmer.
It's nice and simple.
Yeah, nice and easy.
Nice and easy.
So with that being said, you're going to hit pause in just a second. Spoiler mode begins now. Ricky, take it away.
Okay, well, the thing I wanted to start spoiler mode off with, this is the most confusing part of the entire thing. if you're obviously you've read it now because you're in spoiler mode, and if you're not,
or you just don't care.
If you don't care, thanks for listening on. But Weapon X is how you refer to Wolverine.
Yeah.
Through the entire thing, it's not Wolverine, it's Weapon X, and it confused me because later on there's a story arc. I can't remember which one like the title of it, but it was the one where we had what's his name, Hailstorm. The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, the guy who's in like the big fucking fire suit. He has a henchman called Wolverine, and it fucking like threw me through a loop because I'm like, okay, this is probably why they had Weapon X and Jean kind of go off and say, hey, you know what? Because we didn't want Weapon X and Wolverine fighting each other.
That'd be very confusing.
It'd be very confusing. So even with them saying Wolverine, I was like, what the fuck? Wolverine's not in this? Oh. It's that guy.
Yeah. So interesting. Weapon X and Jean Grey are together, which makes a lot of people happy.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we like them being together. We want
and
that
we don't get the weird love triangle like we got in the first 3 X-Men movies of our generation between Scott Summers, Wolverine, and
Jean. You're
Jean.
sitting there and you're going, really, Jean? You're going to pick Scott Summers? She always picks Scott Summers. I was like, really? You don't want Logan? Come on, he's the badass.
No, that's what it is. She always picks Scott.
I know, she's a nerd.
No. Scott,
he's the nerd.
Scott's the guy where it's like, you know what? He's the guy I want the family with. The only reason I'm interested in Logan is because he's the bad boy.
Yeah. And
that's
nice guys win
all the
sometimes,
time.
Ricky.
Well, nice guys win, but we win in the end when, like, they've had all their fun. And then we get no fun. We get the kids, and we get to spend money on them.
This is Ricky's sad life right now, guys. You know what? Forget this podcast.
Real life.
We're done talking about Age of Apocalypse. Ricky, how are you feeling today? You feeling all right?
I'm feeling. I feel like I gotta get on the couch. I gotta lay on the couch and talk to you because this is my psychiatrist session. That's what I'm looking for. But yeah, you get that. You know what's a fucking love triangle though in this? You have Rogue and Magneto.
Yep.
But then Gambit likes Rogue. So you got that fucking love triangle going on where Gambit's all pissed that Magneto fucking wants to bone Rogue. And Rogue's like, but I can't bone anybody because I can't touch anybody.
Yeah, Rogue has trouble. She always has problems with that. But Gambit, of course, is always my favorite of the X-Men. Gambit's just a badass. I like Gambit a lot. I've always liked Gambit. He's got the coolest power if I can just blow anything up I want. It never makes sense to me because why doesn't Gambit just go over and blow people up?
And I'll tell you, when it was in the scene where Iceman's kind of talking to him, and he's like making fun of him, like, oh, look at this, the ladies' man has got pierced by Cupid's arrow, and he's making fun of Gambit because Gambit's a ladies' man. I just was like, oh, fucking A, Channing Tatum is going to make the best Gambit. Because Channing Tatum's kind of already a ladies' man, let's be honest. So that just got me even more excited for a Channing Tatum Gambit movie. So mission accomplished, Age of Apocalypse novel.
I don't know if that's what they were trying to accomplish in 1995. How old was Channing Tatum by then? Maybe like 10 or something?
I'll look it up. I think he's around our age.
He's a young boy. So one thing that I really just kind of like about this, because I always like these weird little alternate universe things to see how things go. Magneto is all in on Professor Xavier's mission of having peace and unity between everybody.
He was 15.
15? Oh, he's a little older than I thought.
He was born in 1980.
Huh.
April 26th of 1980. So happy belated birthday, Channing.
Yeah. If you're listening, Channing, you
because
probably are.
Because everyone knows we want a Channing all over your Tatum.
Wow.
Is that an old reference yet?
There you go, Ricky. There you go.
Go on with what you were saying, Mark.
I like Magneto being the good guy in this case.
He's the good guy for the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, he is the good guy. He is Charles Xavier in this case.
He is. Well, he kind of feels like, Charles was right, and Charles died, and I got to do this. I got to do it. And he's kind of that mentor where it's like, he's the stern mentor, too, where it's like, stop fucking around. We got to train.
Yeah.
This is not you. If you fuck around right now, if you joke around right now, you're going to die out there because Apocalypse ain't going to take it easy on you.
Which is true. It's awesome to see Magneto and the way he kind of operates, too, because Magneto's in control of everything here, and he really takes all the X-Men or his recruits and puts them into groups and says, this is what you're going to do. puts these guys together, that's what you're going to do. And he really just masterminds generals. He's a tactician. Yeah. And that's awesome because that really is what Magneto is, but Magneto never has the full-on group to really make that happen.
He only has like a handful of people.
Yeah. And of course, Magneto's also just one of my favorite villains ever because he's one of those great...
But he's not a villain in this one, Mark.
But he's one of those great villains where it's just in his... I mean, that's the way all villains should be, but in his mind, he's the hero.
Yeah.
He's bringing his people, the mutants, to their salvation by killing all the humans, which is good. Or, I mean, you know, whatever he wants to do. Maybe he doesn't want to kill all the humans. Maybe he just wants to enslave them. Who knows?
See, and I mean, that's the whole thing that's like completely... The thing that threw me through the loop during the first one was I'm very interested, as we are obviously recording this before the movie comes out, because we obviously have to if it's coming out as the movie comes out for you guys.
Yeah.
But the thing that kind of threw me through a loop was... The Four Horsemen, that I know that creative differences from movie to graphic novel, and they had, for the movie, they had to do it one way because Magneto's the bad guy and Xavier's still alive in the movie. Plus, I think they're doing this like continuity thing where Age of Apocalypse takes place during the 80s, but the Four Horsemen are completely different. Like, Storm's on the bad side, Magneto's on the bad side, and Angel's on the bad side. But in the graphic novel we just read, Storm and Magneto are on the X-Men side. And you have Angel, who's kind of neutral, because in the Scott Summer, Alex Summer story, he owns a bar. Or a gentleman's club, I should say, called Heaven.
Very different.
Called Heaven. You gonna go to Heaven tonight?
If the name is Heaven, it's very, very different. I can tell you that. But it's interesting, too, because also Age of Apocalypse really has like this following of his, and he almost has his own army in the way that Magneto has his army. These are set up like armies of mutants that are really, battling it out here.
Because the main horsemen were Gideon, Chandra, War, Death, and then Sabretooth, until they said, well, you're fucking useless now because we used you for what we wanted to.
Yeah. And he's got so many people on his team. Which is just it's really cool the way everything they have. Nemesis, who ended up killing Wanda. Yeah, poor Wanda. The other thing that I would kind of want to bring up while we're talking about all this and the comparisons here, that it seems, at least from previews, because if we're recording before the movie's out, it seems that Mystique is almost taking the Magneto role of the bad guy who's being the good guy.
Yeah.
In this situation,
because she's kind of that stern leader in the
at least that's what it seems like, and part of that's probably just because we want to see Jennifer Lawrence on camera.
Make that stupid fucking face she makes every movie.
You don't like Jennifer Lawrence?
I'm not saying her. Just as Mystique, she makes that same face every single time when she's trying to be serious, and it's like, go back to Hunger Games. Just go back to Hunger Games.
Oh, I don't really care about the Hunger Games.
I don't either.
She can
but
be.
That's the only Mystique. Thing I know her for is Hunger Games.
Funny
and
thing
X-Men.
in the comparison between new X-Men, which is what we're going to call the new movies they're doing, compared to old X-Men, is old Mystique
didn't talk.
Always blue. Yeah, didn't talk really very much, and always blue. New Mystique, it's Jennifer Lawrence. So let's show Jennifer Lawrence off a little bit.
You didn't see Mystique though in this graphic novel. She was referenced by Sun Nightcrawler.
Yeah, she'll happen. She'll show up, I'm sure.
And I like how they still depict her in the comics as kind of the dual, like Colonel Sanders kind of a person. Because even Sabretooth says, well, hey man, good thing your ma kind of her information pulled off, because you know how she treats those refugees, kind of skimming off the top.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be more for Mystique, of course, later. In this storyline, there's definitely a lot to go on. I want to see more out of Cyclops. I want to see a lot more out of Cyclops, actually. I definitely want to see more out of Jean Grey and Weapon X. Are they going...
They just kind of flew off and then...
Yeah, like what are they going to do next? Are they going to run into Cyclops? Is that something that might happen in this case, because that always seems to happen, right? It always has to happen. They always have to all run into each other. Those are things I'm excited to see. Of course, we got a lot of Blink in this. I mean, the whole end of the book is Blink, essentially. So I don't know. It's very interesting. I think the problem for this book is it is a lot of exposition. It's a lot of setup. And I feel there's going to be some really good payoffs from the things I've heard about this. I mean, people talk about Days of Future Past, but Age of Apocalypse is everybody's essential favorite X-Men graphic novel or X-Men story line. Age of Apocalypse, what everyone always talks about. So I know there's going to be all this payoff. We're just not there for it yet. And that's one of the difficult things because it's nearly like 400 pages.
And it's all set up.
And it's all setting up for something else.
I will say, though, and now I can get into it a little bit more, that second story, because this was all set up, that second story between the Summers brothers and where they get to meet their dad, and their dad's got the alien DNA of the Brood in them. Because how the story went, in case you forgot, was they were trying to escape. Oh, shit, this space station's going to abduct us. Throw you two out of the plane with one parachute. Good luck.
Have fun,
then
guys.
Mom and me get fucking abducted and tested on by aliens. Mom dies because she can't take the pain. But I live, and I kind of fight with these alien prisoners, and we overthrow, and we kind of defeat this whole kind of space people race. And then I decide, fuck this shit. I'm going to find my sons. But while I was getting tested on, I got infected by the same Brood thing that infected the aliens. Yeah, it was a lot, but that's what it was.
Yeah. And there's going to be more for the Summers. There has to be more for the Summers.
Well, especially how fucking, Alex runs off with, you killed Dad, this was the last thing I had. And Scott's like, fucking A, man. Come on, I had to fucking do it. I had to do it.
I'm trying my best here, man.
Like, Dad was going to kill you, and you're sitting there going, Daddy, please.
Yeah. And this Scott is a badass, like you were saying before.
He's not a bitch like the one from the movies.
Yeah.
The one that's crying, Gene, I love you. That's the one we see from the movies. This one's kind of like, dude, Alex, you're a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Cut it out.
Like, dude, I've got this long flowing blonde hair. Sinister's a badass, and he's kind of like our dad now anyways. I mean, I like this guy who came over and said he's our dad, but dude, look at this face. I look like a badass for once.
You see this thing I'm wearing here?
You see this bionicle?
You see my monocle?
Yeah, monocle. That's what I was like. Bionicle.
Well, bionicles were cool back in the day.
Yeah, those are cool. But I mean, the monocle looking thing that looks like the reader from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. It's over.
Oh, he just looks like a fucking badass. Yeah. It's over 9,000. Yeah, that's what you wanted me to say.
I did, but you started talking, so I was going to not put it out there.
I finished the reference, Vegeta.
Thank you. So
Mark is now #Vegeta.
I love it. Actually, Vegeta was always my favorite Dragon Ball Z.
You're gonna change. Character. We should change your Twitter name to @TheVegeta. TEE Vegeta.
I don't know if I want it to be at the Vegeta, because that sounds really close to at the vagina or something like that.
Well, you gotta dub them E's.
Yeah. So them E's, yep.
But also dub them V's.
Yep. Exactly. So with all this being said, is there anything else you want to talk about in this? I'm excited for when we get to the next
I feel
stuff.
like this was a lot of setup.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, okay, this kind of I mean, the one thing we didn't dive into was, we mentioned it, but we didn't dive into it. How shocked were you when Wanda actually died? Did you see it coming? Did you see a death coming that soon into the book?
I wouldn't say I saw a death coming that soon into the book, but I definitely expected characters to die. Because this Age of Apocalypse is in the title. I mean, I know this is a character, but Apocalypse is in the title. I'm expecting people to die. And almost every single X-Men character you could possibly want is in this book. Somebody had to die. I wouldn't say I expected to see so quick.
Wanda, right off the as soon as it's like, oh, you stay back, I was like, fuck, someone's gonna die.
I think you needed, you definitely expected that into the book we're gonna see somebody die, and it's gonna be a big point. And then later in the book, someone's probably gonna die. That's gonna be another big point. But but I love the balls of it because I referenced this to you, and I'm not going to spoil this for anyone listening because it's other books. But I was referencing some of the characters that die later on in the storyline,
and I was like, I don't know what you were reading because they didn't die in this book.
So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot. It's something that you're excited about later on. But like I said, right now, this is one of those things that's hard to really... It's hard to rate it. It's hard to really get your opinions about it because it is exactly that. It's just the setup for something else that's going to be cool. It's saying, Ricky, this is going to be cool, but you got to get through all of this first.
I'm going to say 2.5, though. And I'm getting right into it. I'm going to say a 2.5 only because it was a lot of fucking setup.
Yeah.
And I'm not a setup man. I don't do that shit.
Yeah. It's like, for those of you who play D&D out there, you're going to have a fun time playing this game, but first you got to read this thick-ass manual before you do it.
You know what that reminds me more of? Not D&D, but the fucking... when we were kids, we were really into like the Warhammer 40K and the Warhammer models. It's like you get these models and you get to paint them and stuff, but before you can play this game, you got to buy this this book about your faction and you got to read up on it because it's all the fucking lore and how your fucking guys work. And I was like, fuck this shit. I don't want to read like this book.
I don't want to read.
I don't want to read this book. I just want to fucking paint the models and play.
Yeah, I'm here trying to play with these little toys, these Warhammer toys. I obviously don't want to read. Hey, man,
there was some fucking artwork in there. And then the fucking artistry that you did to fucking make the terrain on the little bases, man. I was a fucking artiste.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, Ricky. I'm proud of you. I would give this book...
Mark, I'm proud of you. Now I'm going to get into what really fucking matters.
I'm proud of you, kid. Enough of it, though. I don't want to say... I mean, it's tough. I don't want to say a 2.5. I guess I would give it a 3 because it's making me excited for more.
Yeah, like I'm excited for more, but I'm fucking just right there in the middle almost.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? You talked me into it. 3 as well.
3, there we go.
3 would be right in the middle.
3's for you, 3's for you, 3's for everybody right now.
Because originally I was thinking, I'm like, well, 2.5 times 2 is 5.
Yeah, it's right in the middle.
So I'm right in the middle, but then I'm like, yeah, but 3 is the whole number that's right in the middle-ish.
We like to round
I'm going to go 3. I'm going to round up. You had me round up.
Yeah, good. There's definitely a lot to be excited about. It's a cool universe that they're developing. It's just
we got to read book
not
2
here yet.
We got to read book 2 in the future.
We'll read book 2. We'll come back and talk about how much more we appreciate book 1 now. So with all of that being said, if there's anything in Age of Apocalypse you guys want to talk about, hopefully without spoiling everything, and that happens in future books, go down below into the comment section and do that. You can let Ricky know at Ricky Widmer. You can let me know at with 2 E's, Mark Weber. Of course, hit the like buttons, hit the share buttons, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're going to talk about what we're reading next. But first, I do want to mention patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcasts. So that way you can go and you can support the podcast. If you enjoyed this, you can tell us what book you want us to read. Literally, you can pick that book. You can tell us what to read. You can also get this podcast a whole week early because it is bi-weekly. Get it early and spoil it for everybody about, what we rated and stuff like that. So, since nobody picked anything this time because you guys weren't able to subscribe on Patreon first, next we're going to be reading World of Warcraft Volume 1. A human is found unconscious on the shores of Kalmador, something along those lines. Killamador. With no memory of who he is or how he arrived there. Enslaved by the orc shaman Rhaegar Earthfury. I think I actually might have gotten that one right.
Okay.
This man must fight for his survival against members of both the Alliance and the Horde.
I'm going to pause. It was Killamador. That's what it was. Killamador.
All right. I didn't really play World of Warcraft. I'm sorry,
I did,
guys.
but I'm still not good with names, so I'm going to try to help you out as best I can.
Thank you. Striking an uneasy relationship with other races in his quest to find the secrets of his past. Is Mystery Man going to survive? Will he ever find out what his background is? Find out in World of Warcraft Volume 1. We will see you guys next week. Go ahead, Ricky.
I'm going to throw out a teaser for that one. Big fucking twist at the end.
Yeah.
Big fucking twist. There's your teaser.
Which is important for this one. So, obviously, we're doing this for the movie. World of Warcraft's coming out. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know other things you want to read. We will see you in 2 weeks when we read World of Warcraft Volume 1.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Most Valuable Pod for more great podcasts.